Hi everyone, I'm Sophie Milburn, editor of the MSP Channel Insights portfolio, and I'm joined today by Sam from Gigamon and Richard from Vizst. Could you please both introduce yourselves and share your journeys in the kind of channel ecosystem?
Lovely. So my name's Sam Lambert. I'm the EMEA Channel Director of Gigamon. My journey within the channel ecosystem has probably been slightly different to a lot of people. Being quite dyslexic, I actually started in a warehouse when I was, 17, 18, and realised the salespeople were getting paid a lot more than I was, and so worked my way up from there. I've been with Gigamon now for nearly 3.5 years. Started as the channel account manager for North, and then moved into the EMEA role relatively recently. And I've had the great pleasure of working with Vizst and Mr. Betts for my entire time at Gigamon.
Fantastic.
That's very kind of you to say so, Sam. And I didn't know that you were in a warehouse once upon a time. That would explain the size of you. You were lugging lots of large boxes.
Exactly that. Exactly that.
So, good morning. I'm Richard Betts. I'm the founder and CEO of Vizst Technology. We're a cybersecurity MSSP. Our journey actually started when we formed the company 4.5 years ago. It was born out of a buyout of a technology business and a merger of two others. So we sort of formed a Vizst Technology then. We actually the channel kind of relationship is absolutely cornerstone of our business. It's one of the things that we focused on very early on when we started the company. The business had probably about 25 to 30 different vendor relationships. We felt that that was unmanageable and something that we really didn't want to do. So we actually narrowed it down to 8. And that's really been the cornerstone of our success, is actually our focus on that ecosystem, focus on our partners, double down with those. And in fact, within the business, we have a strapline that says we're an inch wide and a mile deep. And that's really how we try and think about everything that we do, is can we be experts in it? If we can, that's what we want to do.
Yeah, not spreading yourself too thin, kind of mastering your craft.
No, it's all about that focus. Some businesses focus on vertical markets. For us, we focus on key vendors, and then we sort of double down with that. And Gigamon is one of the 8. In fact, it's probably the biggest vendor that we have from a success perspective. And we've seen, because of Gigamon's sort of highly complex technology, what it's allowed us to do is obviously scale up and add that much extra value to the customer. And I'm sure we're getting to some of that as we have the conversation. But that's what this is for us is all about, is just doubling down with the expertise and then being able to offer that as a solution to a customer, as opposed to, if you like, a catalogue sale of a technology.
Yeah. Why do you think that kind of vendor and MSP channel relationship is so critical for building strong cybersecurity capabilities within the channel?
Well, for us, I'm obviously going to be biased because as I've just explained, we come at it from a certain angle. But for us, it's not about the technology on its own. It's about the actual solution that you provide. So we focus on building that sort of trusted partner relationship with the customer, actually offering the full solution, and then most importantly, offering a managed service around that technology. So when we would architect and maybe install a Gigamon solution, that's not the kind of end of the relationship. We feel that being able to offer a managed service around that technology then offers that value to the customer. So that's, from our perspective, that's where the value sits, in actually making that technology work over that 3 or 5 year contract period, as opposed to that selling technology, putting it in and disappearing into the sunset. That's not our model.
100%. Where we finish, the partners then start, and we complement each other perfectly. If Richard's just mentioned the solution there, the fact that Vizst have built up a solution called Vision, which has Gigamon as that visibility plane into the hybrid network, and then is able to feed into other technologies like Vector and Forescout. That solution then opens up a whole myriad of other conversations than just if you were going in with just a point solution, or a point product rather than a solution. It opens up more conversations around compliancy, risk, zero trust, etc., etc. But if we didn't have partners like this doing that, people would just be selling us as Gigamon, hitting the phones and just selling Gigamon. And it's actually the solutions which sell Gigamon most of all.
Brilliant. But you've slightly touched on my next question, but I'll ask it anyway. How do channel partners bring the industry knowledge and experience needed to navigate the current threat landscape? Obviously, it's evolving so quickly. So kind of what are your strategies there?
Speaking from a Vizst standpoint, the experience Vizst have, an insight into things like financial services, critical national infrastructure, public sector, service provider is paramount to what we do. They are at the forefront of these conversations, are able to bring back information to us around regulatory compliance, what risk factors, and ultimately what problems need to be solved. We as a vendor will hear probably 10% of what's going on in some of these accounts, in some of these verticals. Vizst are hearing everything because they are selling solutions. That obviously helps us and helps, Vizst take the Gigamon message out around deep observability and how that helps with solutions for ransomware, insider threats, and regulatory compliance, of course. But ultimately, we couldn't do and navigate our way through these accounts and these verticals without someone like Vizst at the forefront of these engagements.
Yeah.
And I think Sam's right. The thing that obviously we focus on is the customer relationship piece. So, and also, as we've already talked about, not doing point sales. So most of our existing base are not using only one technology that we've supported. Most of them are using 2, 3, 4 different types of bits of cybersecurity technology that we're managing and offering a full security posture. And I think that's if you're good at what you do, and we like to think we are, that's what we're doing, is not just selling a point solution. We're offering a joined up solution across a multitude of different technologies to provide, the right security posture for a client. So I think, that's kind of where we see the difference, and that's where we see, I think, where we can add the value.
Yeah. If I give you kind of a minute and some space now to just kind of big yourselves up and talk about how fantastic you are, what do you think has made the kind of relationship between Gigamon and Vizst so kind of successful and unique compared with other relationships in the channel?
Did you say only a minute?
Yeah, go.
How are we going to do that? No, I'll let Richard start with this one, blush, and say, "Oh, and then
Well, I think for us, it starts with it obviously has to be about a product piece, and Gigamon is an incredibly successful bit of technology in this deep observability space. It's fairly niche, but they are very successful in that, and that really suits us. Then I think moves on to kind of quite quickly moves on to a personal relationship thing. Are these people that we can work with? Is the culture of their company something that we can work with? We have deliberately not worked with kind of some very successful vendors because the culture just doesn't fit with what we want to do. So, we try and have a kind of a matrix of relationships across the business. It's not an organized thing, but we do it. So, I, for example, will know and meet regularly the CEO of Gigamon, either when he comes into the UK or I go over to California to meet him. And all of our guys, right from sort of that pitch all the way through, our engineers, our sales guys, our channel people, our marketing people, all have relationships, working relationships, and actually, in some respects, quite good personal relationships with their counterparts between Vizst and Gigamon. And ultimately, I know it sounds a bit sort of old-fashioned, but people do work with people. It actually, in the day of AI and working remotely and everything else, we actually still quite enjoy working with people, and so that we really try and focus on that a lot. And so I think we've been very successful in doing that between Vizst and Gigamon. From our perspective, we've won the EMEA Channel Partner of the Year for the last 2 years, which is a testament to kind of that relationship. When you look at the size of some of the resellers that Gigamon have across EMEA, we're probably actually in size the smallest, but we punch above our weight because of our expertise, because of our kind of focus, because of what we can do. So I think all of the things that we sort of focus on as a technology and as an MSSP, Gigamon offer us in spades in return.
Brilliant.
that was slightly more than a minute there, Richard. But look, to kind of elaborate on what Richard said, I think, ultimately, when I first came into the role in North, Richard and co were my first meeting, and I was able to walk in there and we were able to map out a shared strategy almost instantaneously. It's not just about the account mapping. It's not just about quarterly targets. It's about the journey on where we were at that time and where we wanted to get to. And instantaneously, I trusted Richard. I trusted what Vizst were and the direction that they wanted to go in. And as such, we as a business trusted Richard. We trusted Vizst in the direction they wanted to go in. I think, the fact that the engineers are all trained, the sales team are all trained, there is an excellence and an excellence in Gigamon at Vizst has come off the back of that. And I personally believe, it's the partners that do that and work so closely with vendors like ourselves, like Vizst do with Gigamon, that is the backbone of the channel. We need partners like Vizst to take us to market. And, it all comes off the back of, ultimately, it all comes back off the back of trust and making sure we're both going in the same direction. And as Richard said, culture as well. There's partners out there that we haven't worked with because their culture doesn't align with Gigamon's.
Yeah. Before kind of coming into the tech industry, I didn't expect culture to be such a massive conversation, but it's really nice to see that it is considered so widely in helping that business kind of grow. Another thing that has kind of come up quite a lot is kind of workload and burnout and things like that. So how would kind of your platforms and your strategy help avoid kind of maybe kind of complexity or tool sprawl when it kind of comes to that workload?
So with the nature of Gigamon and what we do, the deep observability pipeline means we are seeing, all data in motion, which is fantastic. But also what we're able to then do is, define that data in motion, reduce the telemetry going into these tools, meaning that we actually reduce complexity across these security tool stacks. Now, that sounds complex, but in essence, what it's meaning is getting the right telemetry into the right tools at the right time. Meaning that, these large over complex SIM systems, NDR systems, are seeing exactly what they need to. Now, that has a huge benefit in reducing alerts and reducing noise for those SOC teams, for the NOC teams, for all of these different teams that rely on these databases. And as we progress and start bringing in things like Gigamon Insight into these conversations, our AI technology, this is going to reduce that noise and complexity down even further. Meaning, to your point, we're not burning those teams out, and it means that actually you don't need the top tier SOC analyst to be able to identify and ultimately drill down into the data that we are supplying anymore. This is going to be a game changer, and it's certainly something that Vizst and the guys there have taken on to heart and are already starting to implement into their vision solution.
Looking ahead then, what emerging security challenges do you see kind of impacting the channel? I know you spoke a little bit about AI, so maybe kind of a little bit more on there. And how are kind of you preparing for those challenges?
From a general perspective, and I think from a kind of an overall perspective, I think obviously the cybersecurity threat is huge and it's growing all the time, and the AI automation of kind of any bad actor is going to just accentuate that. I think what we're spend a lot of time trying to do is educate mainly C-suite in businesses of the threat.
Right.
I think actually that's probably one of the biggest challenges. Is not that actually the technology is there to protect. It's actually that people need to invest to protect themselves. I'm still absolutely amazed at the amount of C-suites that bury their head in the sand and hope that it doesn't happen to them, as opposed to have an effective plan and an effective amount of technology that's going to protect them. And most recently, some of the kind of headline attacks that we've had in our country, most of that could have been stopped. At the point where the bad actor is in the network and looking around, something like the Gigamon technology would flag that up, and you'd see that there was sort of a dubious east to west traffic going on in the network and be able to track that. So I think actually I find it quite frustrating from a UK perspective that actually the C-suites all know it's an issue. They all know it's something that's got to be done, but actually don't recognize that they need to actually spend some time and money investing to protect their businesses. So outside of just the technology, for me, it is actually kind of constant education process for businesses that are clearly, have to are chasing profit, have to produce results, but they're kind of almost trying to hope that it's not them that suffers the hack that kind of brings them down or makes them headline news on the TV the next morning.
Yeah, it's almost like that false security, isn't it? Of, oh, it won't happen to us, but
Yeah, it's sadly it's amazing how prevalent it is.
yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly with you, Richard, but I think, from what we're seeing, and, again, going back to your vision solution, part of the pillars of this is around, how can you use AI to combat AI threats? This is only ever going to increase, as we start seeing AI driven attacks and AI traffic, we're going to start seeing more attacks in that east to west traffic, that, in those lateral blind spots. So Gigamon's obviously a key, technology there to help, shine a light in those dark corners. But as this progresses, and, as we see, more and more adoption of this, of hybrid cloud as well, combined with AI, compliancy is going to be a real key hurdle here as well around these cybersecurity challenges. Compliancy, as you well know, Mr. Betts, is something that is constantly changing, constantly being enforced, and will constantly be enforced as the governments and the compliancy boards and regulators are playing catch up to what's already going on out there. And without that visibility, you cannot map to these compliancy frameworks. We see it time and time again, through DORA, NIS2, CAF compliance in the UK, and all of the compliance that's coming out of the Middle East now as well. If you do not have that visibility into what's going on across your hybrid network, you cannot map to these compliancy frameworks in the slightest.
Yeah. And what kind of innovations or kind of initiatives do you have in place maybe for the next couple of years that you see kind of starting to try and combat those challenges that we've spoken about?
And certainly, I've mentioned it already, but the Gigamon Insights is going to be key to this.
Yeah.
As we've said, Vision is going to be taking Gigamon Insights into that solution that Vizst have put together. But ultimately, being able to use LLMs to interrogate the data that Gigamon is pushing into, a Splunk, an Elastic, whatever that may look like, and be able to increase time to resolution is going to be key. And the way to do that is through, integrating AI into your security parameters, integrating AI into your day-to-day operations, and meaning that an entire team can use this rather than having maybe one expert on one dashboard. The more people that can access this and get the information to hand means that you're going to be much more secure.
Do you have any advice for anyone that may be kind of scared to implement new AI things? Because I feel like there is a kind of fear there of it creating more complexity and kind of more things going wrong. So yeah, any kind of advice with that?
Well, I mean, Sam's absolutely right from a product perspective, and the Gigamon AI Insights technology is going to actually, in my opinion, be a bit of a game changer in being able to look at all of those what's happening across your network and be able to look at it in plain English and identify things very quickly. So I think, and a lot of the vendors are working on kind of AI interface type technology for their products, which is great. I mean, I look at it from two sides. Obviously, we're going to be able to manage that and implement that for customers, which is great. But from my business perspective, we needed to engage in AI and how we can use it in our business. So we set about kind of two things. First of all, we felt that everyone in the business needed to be AI savvy. So we rolled out AI training for everyone in the company. Every single employee sat through a kind of a day or two of training to actually get them up to speed with what AI is, what it does, how just the understanding of it, and a little bit about how it can affect the workplace. After that had bedded down, we then implemented a committee, and we rolled out various AI initiatives across the business. So in every single department, we now implement various levels of AI technology to help us be more efficient and then pass that on to the business. The next wave of that for us is to then skill down on AI training for each individual job sector. So specialized AI training in marketing, specialized AI training in the finance department, in HR. So actually that then allows those people in that area to really hone their skills on how to get the best out of what they do. But we've had a mantra all the way along that AI is not about saving heads, it's actually about making us more efficient and actually taking us up the value stack. Going back to my first point about being experts, it allows everyone to have time to be an expert because they're not dealing with the kind of the mundane technology. So in the course of actually implementing this AI programs, we've been able to promote 25% of the workforce into higher level jobs. So it's not about that. I mean, and everyone does obviously are concerned about or is concerned about AI taking over jobs. And that's a genuine threat, I'm sure, in a lot of industries. But for our industry, it's actually about taking away the mundane task and allowing us to skill up. And ultimately, that will then roll into being able to offer better solutions to the end customer. So, for my advice to any business owner or C-suite is, if you're not doing it already, you're already behind the game. Make everyone aware of it, train everybody in it, implement programs, implement incentives, get everyone engaged. We incentivize all of our staff to actually use it to actually come up with ideas of how to use it better, quicker, easier. The pace of change is pretty unrelenting. So if you're not in it, jump in quick, because your business is going to be way behind if you're not.
Yeah, I think people would be really surprised actually at how much people aren't being trained on it. It's almost expected to be like a magic solution,
Yeah.
but actually diving deep into, like you said, for each role, how you can manage it the most effectively is, I don't think it's something that every business is implementing from my view.
Well,
Yeah,
sadly, I think you're absolutely right. It goes back to kind of the conversation about cybersecurity. It's something that everyone knows that they've got to do, but they don't want to maybe spend the time and money investing in that. And if you don't, you're definitely going to be behind the game in the years to come, I think.
Richard, with that in mind, then, so when you're speaking to the C-suite, where do you think they're at on their journey into AI? When we're speaking to these guys, a lot of the time people are just saying, "Oh, I'm just using ChatGPT," or something along those lines. As we know, that is not even 1% of what can be achieved with AI nowadays.
No, I agree. And I think what a lot of businesses do is just sort of give it to the technical department and say, "Oh, well, you can do the AI bit,
Mm.
and let us know how you get on." And of course, that just doesn't work. It's going to affect everybody in every role. So everyone needs to be on the journey. Everyone needs to be engaged, in my opinion. It needs securing, and clearly there's a whole discussion about securing your use of AI and the data that you put in and on all those good things, and that's obviously needs to happen. But you need to encourage everyone to engage with it and embrace it. I was talking to a large consultancy business the other day, and they were saying that actually they've been banned from using all forms of AI except Microsoft Copilot, which is, I guess, something that they're using Microsoft Copilot, but that is just such a thin end of the wedge when it comes to how you could improve, a job function or a role, a department, a customer experience. So for me, it's about everyone being engaged. It is not about it's a technical solution and it needs to come out of a technical area. Actually, in our business, one of the people that's leading some of the biggest advances we had is my CFO, and actually how he's engaged in using AI to basically run our accounts and to be able to manage our business from a financial perspective. All of that is through an AI engine now, which takes a huge amount of time off their kind of the if you like the clerical aspect, which means he gives him more time to actually be more strategic. So I think there's everyone. I mean, I'm not saying we're perfect and we're a long way from that, but I think being a smaller business, we've sort of jumped in early and trying to bring everyone along with us.
Yeah, look, I think certainly, as we were saying there, and the C-suite are potentially pushing the AI conversation into the tech teams, or in your case, having the CFO maybe taking a lead on it. What we've certainly seen across the board is if teams are almost divested and allowed to go off and do what they want to do with the different AIs that they want to be playing around with, that leads to actually a security risk in the fact that people are just spinning up and using AI without any regulation or without any internal discipline. And so, we've been in places where people have been spinning up some spurious Chinese AI, which they shouldn't be. And automatically means that people are sharing information, sharing company information they shouldn't be putting anywhere near AI. And I think there's a level of visibility that needs to be put in place, so you can see which AI is being used. But at the same time, I agree wholeheartedly with you, Richard. You shouldn't be limiting yourself to one, or limiting teams to what they can and can't access. It's a double-edged sword at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah,
If you start limiting what people can access and do, you then actually automatically means you're taking maybe a backseat to your competitors, which are able to access a lot more and do a lot more
for sure.
quicker.
For sure.
Balancing act.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, we could honestly, I think we could talk about this all day, but I won't take up any more of your time. But thank you both so much for being here.
Thanks, Sophie.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Sophie. Thanks a lot. Cheers, Richard.